We are live and recording.
All right.
Sorry.
I'm feeling a little judgy today.
Noted for the rest of the, be on notice, everyone.
My name is Darius Schonfar. I'm the chair of the Finance Committee of the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency, and I hereby call this meeting to order. We have with us today John Maxwell, Elizabeth Staubach, and Tony Gaddy. I think that's it, correct? Yeah. First order of business is I would ask for a motion to accept the minutes which have been previously distributed and to waive the reading and accept them as presented.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Elizabeth and Anthony, all those in favor? Aye. We have no reports from the chief financial officer, unfinished business, and because I think Tony has to leave a little bit early today, we want to make sure we get done what we need to get done. So we're going to move on the agenda to item D, which is the Arbor Hill Community Center. What we have proposed for us is essentially a new lease with the school district, and they'll have
Sure.
take it away.
And then I'll just turn it over to Sarah and Joe Scott in a minute. As previously noted, this agreement came out of the New Covenant Charter School project done 20 years ago. The proposal is to effectively terminate the existing sublease agreement and enter into a new lease agreement on terms. We would like to note to the committee that this discussion does involve the sale or lease of real property where the publicity would substantially affect the value thereof, which is a covered executive session item.
So for discussion of that matter, I would like to suggest that we go into executive session for that, and then we can come back out to take any action that would be required.
Okay. So I need a motion to enter into executive session. Elizabeth? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, so we are back out of executive session. We exited at 12:37. No action was taken. But at this point, we had discussion about the Arbor Hill Community Center and the current and proposed current lease and proposed lease amendments. So I think we would need a motion for a positive recommendation for this body to move forward with negotiations and finalizing an amendment of the Arbor Hill Community Center lease. Terms are not public at this point, but they would be public by next week or on the table, or?
I don't, by the time that we approve them.
Yeah,
They will be.
once they approve, okay. So, more detailed information to come. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Tony? All those in favor? Aye. We'll be moving forward with negotiations on the Arbor Hill Community Center lease. All right,
Thank you.
so now, going back,
Thank you all.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'll see you later.
thanks for coming down.
Okay, my pleasure.
We are on to the professional services agreements for 2023.
You guys do.
And before I get into each of them, which I was gonna do individually, I just wanted to, in the interest of time, if it was possible to do these, and I'm asking council if we could do these as a group, or do we have to, okay.
If it's permitted, if it's acceptable to the board. Excuse me.
I hereby accept.
Before you start, Tom, too, since we are gonna do them as a group, if the committee would like, because each of these does implicate members of staff and council around the table, if you'd like us to step out, please let us know that. We're certainly willing to do that, so that the committee can have a discussion without any of the parties in the room on the individual agreements. But with that,
I'll try to be brief. So the first one is a general counsel contract that's with the city of Albany. This has been budgeted for, and the annual fee is $42,000, and there are no proposed changes other than the dates. The second contract is a contract for bond and special counsel, which the agency has a longstanding relationship, contractual relationship with Hodgson Russ. There's basically two parts to that agreement. There's a non-applicant section, and the firm has agreed to work within the budgeted amount of $20,000. For the applicant, where the applicant bears the costs related to that, the fee is increasing for the principal by $10 per hour.
Inflation.
The next three contracts relate to Capitalize Albany and the Capital Resource Corporation. So the first one, and we discussed this at length at the September Finance Committee meeting when we were going through the budget. The contract remains the same as it was as last year, except for the amount, which has been updated to be $632,000. The next agreement is an annual contract for services to provide economic development support for programs, and that is for $250,000. That contract remains the same as prior years, and that's for implementation of the corporation's strategy, general business development programs, and other strategic activities. And then the last contract is the agreement between the IDA and the CRC, which is effectively an agreement to have the CRC reimburse the IDA for professional service costs in the amount of up to $20,000, and that's basically a sliding scale based upon revenues at the CRC. So with that, I will just pause.
Any questions? Any topics for discussion? When was the last time we sent out Joe's contract bid? Remember?
so we have not done that in recent history. We review those contracts annually. Part of what traditionally the board and committee have discussed is the critical need to maintain consistency and institutional knowledge related to all of our professional services, but certainly special counsel services directly. And so that the board has discussed from time to time when considering that topic, looking at the performance and the value that Hodgson Russ has brought. The board has in previous years declined to put that back out. because of the assessment of value and efficiency.
You want me to step out? Because I'm happy to step out.
No, that's okay. Unless someone else does. All right. Then I would ask for a motion for a positive recommendation that the IDA sign these professional service agreements for 2023.
Yeah. It's
So,
I got the second.
Tony, what's the second? All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Okay.
See you on the docket for next week. Good.
All right, the next three items are an annual review of corporation policies, which are the procurement policy, the investment policy, and the financing guidelines. These reviews are mandated by the committee charter and are a best practice for public authorities. There's no recommended changes from staff or council on these policies, and I'll just note that council is available, and staff are available to answer any questions that you have on this. You'll see in the procurement guidelines that it's a pretty low amount. That's an intentional amount, just given particularly some of the ongoing discussions around procurements at public authorities. We've kept that intentionally low. It's a $500 threshold is the minimum threshold which we take to the board.
We're very cognizant of not wanting to bring every small thing to you to take your time and energy on, but again, because of, in a bid for full transparency, we want to make sure that that is a very low bar for board review without having to review sandwiches every month.
All right. Any questions, further discussion? All right.
I'll make a,
We are duly reviewed.
There's no action item on that. Those are just a review.
Yep.
And then the last thing is also there's no action on it. It's in your packets. There's a self-evaluation of the committee. It's really just a summary of all the activities that took place in 2022. There were 10 meetings, and I would just ask if you after reviewing it, if you think that we've missed anything or if there are amendments to the memo, please let us know.
Well, not for me. I evaluate ourselves to be doing a pretty darn good job, if I do say so
For all
myself.
of the time, for sure.
So anything else? Any other business?
Agency update, just very quickly, the IDA had sponsored the New York State Economic Development Council's Industrial Development Agency training meeting last year, and they have reached out to ask for the IDA to sponsor that event again. We did have a number of staff attend that, as well as board members, and had representation from the ABO, the OSC, and IDAs statewide to share best practices, so it was a very good use of those resources, and it's within our budget as well. So we'll look to move forward if the committee is all right with that, with a sponsorship of that event coming up in January, February. I can't remember when that is, but we'll get the dates around to everybody too.
Do we need a motion or?
I don't think we need one. I'd take one if you want one, but we've reviewed that.
Okay. So, motion for positive recommendations for that expenditure?
so moved.
All those in favor?
Great.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Compliance update, I do have something that's going to cover the CRC and the IDA, so I'll just do it at the CRC.
Okay. All right. Well, hearing nothing else, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. All right.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right.